limitation or the time restriction covers all sections together, no? In that case, anyone can just go back, no, to any previous sections if he wants to, no. However, in this particular example, for every section, there's a time limit, there's a time restriction, so no one should go back to any section that's already supposed to be completed because they are timed separately. And therefore, option B is the best answer, okay? And hopefully, those who are watching were also able to get that correct answer. Item 10, may I ask Sir Lloyd to read item 10, STEM and the options.
Okay, item 10, the table below shows the percentage of students who are able to answer correctly items for each of the following the learning competencies assessed in one subject area. Competency number 1, 20%. Competency number 2, 35%. Competency number 3, 12%. Competency 4, 9%. What interpretation can be drawn from the percentage of the students who obtained the correct answers in competency 4? Option A, competency 4 is the most difficult as compared to other competencies. Option B, competency 4 was mastered by very few students. Option C, competency 4 requires complex skills to master. Option D, competency 4 shows the results consistent with the national performance on the same competency.
Thank you, sir, for reading item 10. And let's see. So there's a table to be interpreted, and there are 4 options, no, wherein you need to select, no, which one of these options actually is the best interpretation of the table provided in item number 10. So the best answer is actually option A. Competency 4 is the most difficult compared to the other competencies, no? Because what the table is actually providing us is the percentage, no, of correct, no, percent correct in terms of the number of students, no? So if there are 100 students, for instance, and it's just 9%, then that means that only 9 out of the 100 students were able to answer or attain competency number 4. Okay, so therefore it's the most difficult compared or relative to the other competencies, and we can actually say that the easiest among the competencies is competency number 2, followed by competency number 1. When it comes to difficulty, competency number 3 is the second most difficult after competency number 4. Okay, so most difficult. So bakit hindi option B? Okay, because option B talks about mastery of a very few students, no? So it's what constitutes very few or few may vary, no, depending on the operationalization, no, of the one making use of the term very few. So it may or it may not be correct depending on the operational definition of very few. So therefore, it's not that clear whether option B is the correct answer, because very few is not something that's objectively scored, no? So it could be less than 10%, but it could be also around between 11 to 20%. So what's few, what's very few, since it's not explicit, then that's not the best answer. Okay. Option C, competency 4 requires complex skills to master. Maybe, no, that's a plausible inference, but not without knowing the actual content, no, of the competency, we cannot really be sure on that particular inference. Okay, and option D, competency 4 shows results consistent with the national performance on the same competency. Yeah, it's a reasonable answer, but without additional information, no, that will actually help us make such inference, then it's not actually the best answer. So given the data, okay, as the data let the data speak, ika nga, di ba? So you just use looking at the table, then the best answer, no, is option A, because it's referring to the percentage of students who got the answer correctly, less than 10%, and therefore it's difficult relative to the other competencies. Okay, so based on the results, no, of the assessment inventory, less than 50%, no, less than half, no, around 41% of our teacher respondents got the correct answer, no. Let's see why. Yeah, next to it, on close actually, no, it's just a difference of around 50 teachers, no. Many actually selected option B. Okay, let's look at option B again. Yeah, competency 4 was measured by very few, was mastered by very few students. Yes, it's reasonable, as we said earlier, no? However, as mentioned, we are not really sure what very few means, and it could mean differently, no? When used by different people, because we have several possible operational definition of what very few means. And since that's the case, option A is the better answer compared to option B. But yes, option B in a way is logical and reasonable, no? If we're using a solo taxonomy scoring, option B, no, most likely will get a score, not the best score of 3, but possibly 2, no, or 1, okay, but at least 1, but not 3, no, because we have the best answer for, and that's option A. Okay, for item 11, Ma'am Maricel.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. Okay, for question, the table shows the average performance scores of grade 10 learners from 2 sections on the 50-item English proficiency test. Okay, grade 10 Magaling, average 32.25, grade 10 Mahusay, 37.75. Which of the following is the most accurate interpretation of the results shown on the table above? Option A, in general, learners from grade 10 Mahusay perform better than those from grade 10 Magaling in the English performance. Wait.
Okay, continue po.
For letter B, there are more learners from grade 10 Mahusay that have high proficiency in English compared to learners from grade 10 Magaling. Letter C, overall learners from grade 10 Mahusay have higher levels of English proficiency than learners from grade 10 Magaling. Letter D, no learner from both sections score lower than 50% of the total number of items in the English proficiency test. Thank you po.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so let's see which the best answer. Option A. In general, learners from grade 10 Mahusay perform better than those from grade 10 Magaling in the English proficiency test. Now, because what we can actually only see is the average raw scores. Okay, so if you look at option B and option C, it talks about comparison when it comes to proficiency. So we're not sure, no, because we don't have leveling of the proficiency. No, it's possible that although 32.25 is lower by around 5 points, no, over 5 points compared to 37.75, it's possible that they fall on the same proficiency level. And without such information, we cannot really make a decision, inference or judgment in terms of proficiency levels between the two grade classes. Okay. For option D, well, it says that no learner from both sections scored lower than 50%. Again, we are not sure. Remember that average or mean scores are typically affected by high or low scores. It's possible that there are still students who actually scored lower than 50%, but without that information, additional information that we need to know, like the number of items and everything, what's the minimum maximum score in this particular test, we cannot really make assessment or judgment referring to option D. And therefore, by looking at the average raw scores, the best answer is option A. grade 10 mahusay perform better than those from grade 10 magaling, at least in terms of the average raw scores. If you want to know if indeed there's a significant difference, no, between the performance of grade 10 magaling and grade 10 mahusay, and then we need to make use of a statistical test of difference, like a t-test, for us to be able to be really certain, no, that one grade class is better or perform better than another class. No? But at least in terms of the raw scores, the average raw scores, we can make that inference that one grade level, in this case grade 10 mahusay, perform better than the other grade level, grade class, which is grade 10 magaling. But as mentioned, for us to really come up, no, with a more objective conclusion that indeed grade 10 mahusay perform better, and then we need to conduct a statistical test of difference, like a t-test, for example, no, a t-test for independent sample groups, because we are comparing two different grade sections or grade classes. Okay, so yeah, the teachers who took the test find it difficult, no?